Right, guys, there's a lot of kind of financial meltdown at the moment, and there's a lot of people saying a lot of things, and the tariffs have set off all this meltdown, and stock markets, and gold, and all the rest of it. So I'd just like to. I've been hearing a bit of chatter about this gold. I'm trying to make an issue of it about this gold and Fort Knox and that. And I've always thought about the gold, and there are people who are gold fanatics, and they're usually people who stack gold or sell it, and mainly the people who sell it and deal in it. They'll trash anything else except for gold, obviously. But there are the gold stackers who say, and they're quite right, that if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Now, if you hold it, you've got to keep it safe. It's up to you to keep it safe, which brings its own, in my opinion, brings its own problems, and especially if you want to move around. And a lot of places you can't move over gold over borders in any quantity. It's illegal, and that kind of thing. And there's also the other question about the tax, the capital gains tax, and all that, and which in fact there's one loophole that I know of in that, and that's in the UK. And if you own sovereigns, they are legal tender in the UK, and there's no capital gains tax. So that'd be the way I would go with gold. Sovereigns, if I was in the UK. Well, suppose anywhere. But to move them around, if you've got a large amount of gold, it's not easy. And people say, oh, you can take it anywhere in the world, and people will buy it. Well, if you can get it there. And if you're in an emergency situation, and a lot of you hear a lot of this stuff in America, that like if you're carrying large amounts of cash or gold or anything like that, they just take it off you. If you get board in a plane, they just take it off you and say you've got to prove where that came from, and you might not ever see it again. It's happened, and it happens all the time. Anyway, so they said they're going to have this audit, and I don't know what ever came of it in Fort Knox. And I'm not quite sure how you would audit it, because you'd have to know which bars are allocated to whom, or to which client, because they have a bar number, right? So if you buy gold and you trust someone to keep it somewhere, like Fort Knox or other vaults around the place, then you've got to trust that that bar is in there, and the number hasn't been allocated to anybody else, which you'll never find out unless you meet someone in a cafe and say, I've got some gold, and they say, so have I. It's in such and such a vault. So is mine, right? Right, what bar number is it? And you tell them, and they say, that's my bar number. Never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And the same with these ETFs in Bitcoin, that it can be sold to multiple people, and you'll be allocated a Bitcoin address where it's supposedly being kept, right? Say an account number, and this is your Bitcoin address, and you can actually see it on the. You can go on the Explorer, look at it, and say, yeah, it's there. It hasn't moved. That's what I've been allocated. But when you cash in an ETF, right, and this is where it should ring alarm bells, they won't give you the Bitcoin. you're only going to get dollars back, fiat or euros, whatever you put in. Like if the Bitcoin goes up, say, in value, you'll get more dollars back, but you won't get the Bitcoin. So really, that address or account number on the ledger, and it'll be there, it won't move. Like BlackRock will have bought the Bitcoin or whoever, but it can be sold easily, sold to like 5 people, that address. If they're good at, like, they'd have to hide that in some way from the auditors or authorities. Don't know how, but it can be done. So unless you meet someone, it's like the gold scenario. You meet someone in a cafe, say, I've got an ETF in Bitcoin. Oh, so have I. Oh, really? What's your address? And you swap addresses. They're both the same. It's never going to happen, ever. And they might be able to do that, to sell it to people from that address in different countries. So the auditors may not even be able to track that down. Whether they give you the address or not is another thing. They might not. BlackRock might not give you the allocated address, like the bar number of the gold bar that you're supposed to own or own part of. I bought some gold once in like on an exchange type thing, and they give you the bar number and where it's allocated and all that, and you can try and retrieve it, but unless you've got a full bar, I don't know how that works, I don't know how that works, but anyway, someone retrieved some gold recently from one of these vaults from a central bank or whatever, and it's very difficult to do. People are getting quoted like, we can get it back to you, but it'll be like 4 years, so they can reallocate then the bar numbers. That'll give them time to reallocate them bar numbers to other people. Makes sense to me. It's easy, and so they'll say, yeah, we need time, and sometimes they just refuse. Like Venezuela, they wanted to retrieve their gold from, is it the Brinks-Matted or whatever, in London, whatever the vault is there, and they wouldn't give it to them. They said no. You're not worthy of it, whatever. So it's not like as cut and dried as people make out gold, really. It's difficult to move around anyway. But anyway, well, it's a good, if you can do it on like, a savings thing, and like, but they've got these things now which they're promoting called dirty man safes, and you bury them in the back garden. I mean, this is going back to like Captain Hook and like Treasure Island, where you get X. That's where the treasure is, and like everyone's got hold of a map, and they're all like killing each other to get there. And that's what happens. If you watch any of this inheritance stuff, and even if you insure the gold and all that, your heir, if you die, then your heir's gonna get it. And if you watch true crime, this is another flaw in being wealthy, and it happens all the time. And you get these people who get killed all the time, and by the spouses or by hitmen, hired by spouses or family members, sons, daughters, anyway. Anyway, and it happens regularly, and the police catch them all the time, and they say, well, the police have done well, Well, they haven't really, because they go like that. Oh, Joe Soap's been killed. No sign of a break-in. This is like it happens all the time. No sign of a break-in, but there's this wild story about how it happened, you know. And it's obviously a hit. And so they go, right, okay then, so what? Who's the benefit? What life insurance have you? Oh, they took out 2 policies last week. Who's the beneficiary? Oh, the wife. She did it. Or got someone to do it. And the wife will already be moved in with this person after time. They can't wait. They can't wait. The first place they can't wait is when they take their life insurance out. They kill him almost straight away. And then the police come in, they say straight away, right, life insurance, da-da-da-da. That's suspect number 1. And we're not looking anywhere else for the time being. That's where it is. That's who's done it. And they catch him. And then all they do then, I mean, these people are so dumb on like phones and stuff like that. They can look into the phone records, and that's very common. That emails, and that's how very, very common at the court, you know. And there was a lot of activity just before the person got bumped off. And these people who's burying gold in the back garden, they'll have to tell someone where it is. They'll have to tell someone where it is. And this is the pitfalls of and likewise with Bitcoin, if you want someone to be the beneficiary, you've got to tell them how to get it at the end. But like you can do that through these. You've got these wills now, and you can. But you'd have to trust them, the people who do the wills and that. But there's a way of doing it. Anyway, that's another story. But it reminds me of this. I used to watch this. It was like a cult comedy, very off the wall. It was a bit like I don't know how to describe it, and it was called My Name Is Earl, and a very strange sense of humour type of thing. And but I liked it. It was very funny, and it reminded me he had this silver service, I think it was, like a big box of solid silver knives and forks, I think it was, spoons. And he did that. He buried it by his trailer. He was like trailer trash. He lived in a trailer, and his wife was always having him off and cheating on him and all the rest of it. He had his cousin. It was funny. If you like that type of things, not everyone would like it or even get it. But anyway, so we buried this silver service in what's it? And she was watching him through the curtains, and she went and dug it up and sold it. So anyway, so he went to dig it up later on, and he said, "I'm sure it was here." And he's like in this hole, like 6 foot down. It's like all this muck coming out of the hole, and he can't find it. Well, he won't find it because it's not there. This is what will happen with the gold. This is what will happen with the gold. Like they'll say, "Oh yeah, I've sorted out a holiday for you." And as soon as you get on the plane, they'll be digging the gold up and covering it up with the lawn, and it won't be there. And this will happen for sure, absolutely. Anyway, so it gets me thinking now that all this gold and people are trying to retrieve it now, and the other week. Well, last week there was a report that someone retrieved the gold, this gold out of this vault, but it wasn't, when they got it, it wasn't the numbers that they were told they'd been allocated. So obviously it wasn't there. It wasn't there. And whether they had to go and find some other gold or they'd already sent it to someone else, it wasn't there. Obviously. They didn't say that, but like people were saying, well, how come it's a different number? Obviously they'll have like some cock and bull story. But that gold's supposed to be there. And they could do the same with the ETFs, with the Bitcoin and that, or any ETF. And the thing that should set the alarm bells going there is when you cash in the ETF, you don't get Bitcoin. You get dollars or whatever you put in. Now you would have thought you'd have the option of getting paid out in Bitcoin. And this is where you've got to think about, hang on a minute. They could sell this. You'd have an account number and it'll give you the address where the Bitcoin is. Public ledger. But they can sell that. If they don't have to give that to someone when they cash out, they could sell that multiple times. Easily. And if they did it in different countries, it'd be difficult for the auditors to find that out. If it's been allocated, that address where the Bitcoin's held, you get an address where it can be, it's a public address, and then there's a private number. That's where you can access the Bitcoin, and so that's how it works, basically, in a nutshell. But they could sell it twice, 3 times, 4 times, allocate that address and say, this is where your Bitcoin is. Anyway, so that can happen. That can happen. So with the gold, I mean, that's even worse, because you could actually say to them, right, I want to visit the vault. And this is what happened. They said they were going to do an audit on Fort Knox. But as far as I can say, nothing's ever come out of it. And they kind of just threatened it, but they didn't do it. Maybe someone in Fort Knox says, you don't really want to do that. You don't want to do it. It'll just that'll be the end of the financial world as we know it. And it might happen. But I don't think they ever went. Or they went and they haven't said what happened. I don't know. But imagine that, go in there, Fort Knox, and it's not there. And it's probably, probably half of it isn't. Maybe more. Who knows? I mean, they're not going to be trustworthy, are they, these people? Like bankers and people. We'll look after that for you. It's like when they look after your money. They can reinvest your money tenfold. They can reinvest it. And that's what they do. Exactly what they do. It's called, what do you call it? Something banking. But it's not your money. And people don't believe you when you say that. And they don't want to hear it. They're just like, they can't go there. When you put the money in the bank, it's not yours anymore. You're just a debtor. It's not yours. And people can't go there. They say, no, you're wrong. They think the bank's got the money in the back room. That's not how it works. Your money is like, especially if it's if it's a loan or something like that, it's just make believe. Everything's money is magicked into existence by you creating a debt. As soon as you say, right, I want 100 grand on my account, but I'm going to pay you back 300 grand over 20, 30 years. That means you've just created, because you've promised that you're going to pay that back. Right? You've created 200 grand just by saying that. which didn't exist before you went in there. And it takes some thinking about that for some people, but like if you like slightly different, if you think differently, you can get your head around it quite quickly. And some people can't. Some people never get it. Okay. Cheers. My name is Earl. Oh, but he went on a plane and he was going to Mexico and he'd never flown before, and he was like, he didn't like the idea of it. Anyway, so he goes in the airport and he says, right, we want to go to Mexico, 2 please. And he said, when do you want to go? He says, we're ready now. We're ready when you are. And he said, no, you have to buy a ticket and all that and make a time. And with the time when the plane takes off. Oh, right, okay, well, the next one then, whenever it is. He says, right, okay, we'll get you on the next plane. And he's on the plane then. And they're doing the stewardess thing. And with the oxygen masks and the inflatable life jackets and all that. And he's watching this performance, and he says, right, okay, stop the engines. I'm off. I'm out of here. I'm not going. I'm off here. And he went like, why? Why is that, El? He says, well, I've been on this plane 20 minutes now, and all she's done is talk about crashing. So I want to get off. Anyway, they had to knock him out, and then he woke up in Mexico. Anyway, My Name is Earl. Look it up. There's some good sketches on the YouTube, actually.